it's definitely not do what you want, but I think we just have so much more freedom right now than we think we do, or that we may not fully appreciate at this moment until we get back to our regular scheduled 9 to 5 day-to-day lives where we no longer have those choices. We can no longer watch a movie with our kids at 10 o'clock in the morning because we're on this tight 40-hour-a-week grind, work for the man, regular schedule where we're just basically working and we're on this planet that we're not living. We need to be living right now and doing those things and taking time and like, you know what? It's been refreshing, at least for us, and I hope for so many other people. It's like, what's really important?
What's up, my man?
Hey, dude, I think it's Thursday. I'm starting to get lost of like what actually the days are, but pretty sure it's Thursday. I do know it's March 19th, 2020. Welcome aboard, Crushing Iron Podcast. I'm going to say 357.
Sounds good to me, man.
Sounds good to me, man. 357.
Yeah.
We appreciate you tuning in. We cover all things triathlon, and we cover a whole lot of life, which is if you're in real time or in listening to this in the coming days or weeks, there has never been it's never been more evident, I would imagine, how triathlon and our training and our ability and our need and wants to race and how they intersect with life and how things can be unpredictable. Sometimes how our training can complement life, and sometimes how our perspective and our focus and the attention we put on triathlon and our training for triathlon, and sometimes we can have a single-minded focus, how that impacts life, and they impact each other, but they can be a very positive relationship, and sometimes can be not so positive. I won't call it negative, but more of a drawback than an addition. So we bring it to you twice a week. We've done it for the past 3 years. If you're just now tuning in and you're killing time as you quote unquote work from home and take your conference calls in your robes and pajamas, hey, there's not two better guys you can listen to give you tips on how to quote unquote work in your robes and pajamas than Mike and I have been doing it for a while. So tune in, sit back, relax, and we will do our best to bring you a wide variety of topics today that you can apply to your daily life and help you succeed in all areas.
Yeah, we're pretty good at that, man. We've been doing it for a while. I've been even when I was in corporate world, I was mentally in my pajamas.
Yeah, I bet you were mentally in PJs.
I mean, I was the master of getting up at 8:40 and being at work by 9. So that's with a 10-minute drive. So you can only imagine how my life. Speaking of anxiety,
that hasn't really changed though, has it? Because I mean, you are the guy, I think, and I think you've shared this on a podcast before, that you showed up to a race so late that you had to slip a 20 to one of the transition volunteers just to let you get inside transition to lay your gear down, because and coincidentally enough, that is going to be both of our, and is my current new home in Chattanooga. It was, I believe, at the Chattanooga waterfront, where you showed up so late the transition had closed, and you had to sweet talk a poor, volunteer to just lay your gear down and toss it and just participate that day. Is that true or untrue?
It's true. So late, it was like 6:15 in the morning. Look at these triathletes and their time deadlines, like drive me crazy. But
5 minutes early.
I had to.
Time is
Yeah,
late.
I know. Well, it was still an hour before the race, and I was like, "Come on, man, just let me walk in there." And the guy was just stern as could be, man. He was like, I don't know. And so I gave it to the volunteer, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll do the best I can." And I got out of the water and ran into my bike, and there was just everything was just dumped right in. You talk about like a frazzled moment, man. I was trying to find what you need. I don't even remember, because a lot of times just when you lay it out on your towel or whatever, you kind of lay it out in a way that but to try and remember even what you need sometimes is kind of weird, especially when you got a pile like a junk drawer sitting in front of you. Yeah, that race didn't actually work out so well. I was not in the right mindset. I was a little anxious and angry about all that, and that's no way to race or live, really.
Or live. But hey, mindset is actually the topic I wanted to talk about today. Before we dive into said mindset and that topic and kind of the overall discussion, given what we're going through in the world today and how we're having to navigate new inconveniences and also new opportunities, in terms of, working from home. For those of you that are just now doing it, your kids are out of school, you're having to both parent, you're having to live your own life, you're having to try to train, you're having to try to work, all from the comfort or sometimes uncomfort of your own home. So before we go into that, Mike and I, the past couple of days, and something we've always tried to do over the last 3 years of doing this podcast and watching our community grow is just do our part, and do our part to help athletes connect, help you feel informed, help you feel like you're part of the community, and feel supported along the way, and it provides you with the best information that we can, in an open format, as we've done on our podcast, and we try to do as often as we can in our closed Facebook group. If that's something you want to be a part of, you can always hop in there. It's Crushing Iron Group on Facebook, and we'll let you in after you answer a very simple question. And given the fact that most of us are going to have to be working remotely, and just to be honest, just the term social distancing from people and isolating or sheltering in place, whatever it may be, now is the best time to connect, and we have to find ways to do our part in finding that face-to-face time or consuming information and feeling empowered to do things. And while a lot of us feel like we don't have those choices right now, and so we've been building over the last few weeks and months. Mike has done an incredible job of building what we have on our website. If you want to go to that website, it's called c26triathlon.com. We have an online hub, and that has been, since we opened it, it has been just for our athletes. It's a place where athletes can hop in, watch a ton of videos that we've done: swim, bike, run, nutrition. It's got some Q&As that we've done, including one I did yesterday with our team via Zoom, which is kind of like a video chat that we did with the Q&A. It's got a blog. It's got it'll have upcoming bonus podcasts. It's got a coach's corner. In the past, it's been there for just our athletes to consume on whatever they want to on a daily basis with hundreds of videos. But we feel like right now is the best time to open that up to the public. And so Mike will be posting this link to the show notes, and obviously a link in our closed Facebook group. And instead of just putting like a standard price on it, it is going to be a pay what you want to access the hub. You're going to have 3 different pricing options: $9, $29, and $49, and that'll be good through September 30th of this year. So you can pay whatever you want to, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you can afford, and that'll give you access from now until September 30th to all the information, all the content, all the videos, all the chats, all the blogs, for what could be a very, very affordable price. But we wanted to open that up, and Mike has done an excellent job of creating that and getting that content the way it needs to look, so you can consume it in an educational and fun way.
Yeah, well, I just want to show people how to get into the hub, or how they register with that pay what you want plan we have. There is, if you go to c26triathlon.com, the homepage has a link right at the top that says click here for a preview or to sign up for the hub, and then several other pages are, and then on the right hand header there's a actual link that says online hub. If you hover, there's a drop down that says get a preview, and then when you go to the preview page, you can just pick that $9, $29, or $49 to get in the hub for essentially 6 months. And I just want to, I think of the hub, and it's been a project we've been slowly working on for a while, and like you said, we want it to be a great resource, and I want it to be like a really comprehensive resource. So it will be continually updated with blog posts, like you said. We're going to get into some bonus podcasts, and you're going to start, you've got some articles and, links of things that you like to read and share with people. And we're going to be interviewing athletes, our athletes, and getting their perspective on things like training, their why, and, how they got into it, what keeps them motivated and stuff like that. So there's going to be a lot of good information on there that'll keep going, and who knows what else we'll come up with, because that's what we kind of do, is just think about triathlon and what else we can create in that
That's
space.
right.
So
how can we help?
if you have any questions about the sign up or anything like that, I put a page together with a preview. It kind of shows you a list of all the video types and some samples of the videos. And as I said, we've got an ongoing blog and a bunch of other stuff. It sort of defines it. But if you have any questions or problems with anything, always email me at crushingiron@gmail.com. And I feel like, I just want to throw it out too, because this is an isolating enough process of training on its own, and now it's like amp that up even higher. So crushingiron@gmail.com is open. Just want to say hey or share some thoughts or get some feedback on anything. That's just how it goes.
That's how it goes, man, and we'll continue to
Yeah.
do it. We are starting. I'm trying to familiarize myself with a platform called Zoom, which is like an online video conferencing thing. We had our first one yesterday for our team, and it was awesome. I really enjoyed getting to see everyone's faces and connecting and having a good time. And it's just nice to see people. And then we'll do that again next week, and do this at least on like a weekly basis. So, but yeah, today, after getting a bunch of Q&As yesterday and focusing kind of on just some things that I've read from other coaches, I really thought today would be a great day to talk about mindset, and the things. I say that in like an endurance fashion because we have the mindset to be really successful right now, and I think we have that in a lot of ways. We have the ability to focus on something that is like coming out of being confined to your space, or doing the things you need to do now but just for the long term. And that also goes in making sacrifices. Like endurance athletes, I think, again, are wired for this, not just physically but mentally and emotionally. Mike, like for you as an endurance athlete, what do you think some of the most mental and emotional attributes you have, or the attributes you do have that make you successful as a from a mental and emotional aspect as an endurance athlete?
For me, I've been thinking about this a lot, obviously, and during this time, I've been doing a lot of this mindfulness stuff for years and everything like that, and I really feel like it's paying off. And for me, that's kind of being in the moment, and that's in the step or the stroke or the pedal stroke and that kind of thing. I think one of my biggest assets is to be able to just be there and think about the next stroke and think about the next stride and get into that place. It's not always there, but when I'm in a good place, that's what it is, and that's how I'm looking at this whole thing. I'm not trying to get out in the future because that's where anxiety lives. When you're starting to try to prematurely put things together out in the future too far, especially when you don't know or understand details and things like that. And that's how I look at racing and training, is sort of like you just don't. We talk about it all the time, how we start a certain training session and we might not feel good, and it's like you can't bag things right then. That's like when you draw yourself in and just take it one step at a time. And they always talk about doing like what you're planning on doing, some of these long run ultra races. You can't think about the 50-mile mark when you're on mile one. You have to look at aid station, breaking it up and breaking it down and things like that. So for me, that is one of my things, and then just being able to focus on that and not get too distracted, because you've been out running where your mind is wandering, and then like I feel like when it starts to be the best is when it settles in and you are just with your breath and things like that. So I do think that the hardships and things that have been created during this time are right in kind of our wheelhouse. I mean, I was telling somebody yesterday that doing hard things is the key to staying young. And I'm 56, and I think that I'm doing a pretty good job of holding my own at that age and being flexible and strong and things like that. And doing hard things keeps you that way. And believe it or not, our easy days are hard days for most people who don't do anything. So I guess that's the point, is to be reminded that no matter what, you might feel like you're out of shape or you're struggling or falling behind, but you're so far ahead and you're still doing hard things. They just might not feel as hard. So to me, that's the message that I've been kind of running back through my head, and just staying positive and in this moment kind of thing. That's my
Yeah,
endurance mindset, is be in the
no,
moment.
no, I love that, and I think one of the things that we sometimes forget is that patience is something that we also have. Again, most of us set these goals that are far, far away. That are months, 6, 8, 12 months away, and even though those have been taken from us, one of the attributes we can take from how we approach a season, or how we should approach a season, and even just our successful journey and career, if you could say that, and as a hobby for triathlon, is short-term sacrifice and a healthy approach for long-term gain. And I think that's what a lot of people or some can get frustrated with, or having kind of a short fuse about, or even maybe not even hearing to some of the things people are telling us to do right now, is that, oh, I just want to do this right now. I think we'll all be fine. And triathletes, some triathletes are like that. They are short term only. They only think about today. They only think about what hack can I do to get by. I've got to go hard today or I won't have anything. But the most successful athletes, they just think long term. I'm willing to make sacrifices today if I'm going to be successful down the road. You can go out and do something irresponsible or stupid today. I'm not, because I'm thinking long term. And I think it's that ability to endure hardships, endure patience, endure making sacrifices, endure get canceled races. We all have this opportunity right now to think about, all right, what can I do to make the best out of this right now today, to set me up for success later down the road. And I think it's just one of those topics that, as an endurance mindset, you think, oh, you're an endurance athlete, you can just do this and do that. Well, anybody can be an endurance athlete. I mean, I think that's a fact if you want to and if you choose to. Some people can't or won't, and that's strictly a mindset thing. They don't have the patience, they don't have the commitment, they don't want to make the time, they don't want to have the motivation. You can make all that and you can have that. And if you're an athlete that's struggling with the hiccups that you've been forced into, or the obstacles that you have now, or the the things that you used to have an opportunity to do, like go to the pool and swim, or go to the gym and hop on the treadmill, like, and those have been taken from you. Well, now's the time to adapt and not think, all right, short term, I'm going to sacrifice, maybe my family self and go out and do this, but I'm going to be just fine in the long haul. And I can do this. And there are ways as an endurance athlete that we can refocus ourselves right now to become better athletes. And a lot of that has to just kind of cultivating what we have as an endurance mindset and kind of just settling in and hunkering down. Because on race day, like, especially if you're doing, like, 70.3s or Ironmans, or like a really hard courses, or any long type of endurance event, it's just about, like, hunkering down and having that mindset of, all right, this is just going to kind of be how it is for a while. But you know what? I can do it, because I know when it's over with, and it might not be comfortable right now, and it might not be something I want to do at this moment, but I know that I have prepared for this, and I know I can go out and do these things that I want to do, and I can finish this race, because I can mentally and emotionally. I know it's going to end at some point. I just have to keep making the right decisions in this split second that are going to propel me and make me successful once I get there.
I really do love that analogy, man, because it's sort of like if you have done a 70.3 or a full, you experience that continually throughout the race. It's that hunker down and just be there, and you have that experience almost. And I think when we look at what's going on now, there's a real good opportunity to, I guess, do things that you've been thinking about. And because we have no real future here plan. I mean, we don't know what's going on. So it's kind of like, okay, we're in this spot, and how can we best take advantage of it? And for me, I kind of think like, okay, well, if there's like a habit you want to sort of break, or something that you would like to get in the habit of, now is a really good time to do that, because when you create those new habits or even break them, that takes a lot of energy. So, and it's a really good time to kind of just chill back and take a deep breath and say, you know what, I don't need that sugar all the time, or I don't need whatever. I don't need to go down these rabbit holes. And you can kind of like let those things, because it's all reward based, right? And it's habits that we create probably when we're young, and that's the difficulty, I think. And I won't know because, like, I don't have any kids, but but like when you're 5 years old, you get a great response from eating like a cake or something
Right.
like that. And that's, you have to understand, like for me, that would be like 50 years of habit building of eating cake and loving it. But then it's sort of like you got to almost step back from that and go, really, is that really the reward I'm looking for here? And to your point about the short-term sacrifice for long-term gain, and this is just, to me, the ultimate setup for that for a lot of people. You know, you don't have to go to work and rush around. Maybe you're working from home, or like, this is not everybody, obviously, and I don't know everything, but I'm just thinking for a lot of us, this quote unquote boredom period. And I don't think a lot of triathletes fall into that, frankly, but a lot of society, it's so easy to get bored, right?
Hmm.
Well, find your new reward system. Like, man, I maybe I'm bored. Well, like for me, it's really been interesting. I haven't been trying necessarily, but I've just been sort of falling asleep a little bit earlier, and I've been doing
Oh, look at
things
you
that are
run.
going on around the house. Like it's just naturally kind of coincided with a lot of work I'm doing on the house or whatever. Um, but it's been interesting. You know, I haven't been like training super hard or anything or trying to make
Right.
up lost ground. And I think that's probably the mistake we can make right now. It's like, okay, let's find a balance in this extremity.
I think most people right now, and this is triathletes, and I think just people, and I think it's totally, I don't know, it's totally expected, and I think it's totally okay to have this feeling of how much of this or that am I going to lose right now? I think that's a fair and expected response for us all to have. How, if you're, relationships, is this going to affect my relationship? How is this going to affect? What are they going to lose? They're going to be out for a long period of time. As a business owner, or as an employee, like how is this going to affect me and the economy going forward? Like how am I going to negatively be affected? How is this going to impact me? How am I going to lose? For triathletes, like how am I going to be affected negatively with fitness? I'm not going to be able to swim. I won't be able to ride my bike as much. Maybe I won't be able to run as much. My schedule has changed. I no longer have the flexibility and ability to do these things. While working at home has its advantages, it also has its disadvantages. Like you have to rework your schedule. You kind of had this time of uncertainty, but in the midst of that, what you can also do is kind of peel back the onion of what am I going to lose and what am I not going to have, to where do I now have opportunities to be successful and to actually make gains? Because what's going to happen for a lot of people is they're going to come out of this time and they're going to either have just sat back and waited, and then you're going to have others that are going to be proactive in doing what they can do right now. Because make no mistake about it, when life picks back up full speed, it ain't waiting for nobody. It's just going to go like full speed. Like as soon as people can go out to like rocking in restaurants, they're going to be jam packed. Like people are going to be ready to rock and get out and do things. Right now is in terms of like managing stress and having that endurance mindset. Like right now, it's like doing spring cleaning. Like spring clean your mind, de-stress as much as you can, do things around the house. It's like, listen, if you haven't finished your home projects and done your yard work by the time this is passed, then I got nothing for you, man. Like this is like the perfect time to get stuff done. And that you've been lazy or you've been distracted by, like that's something that I've figured out with myself in the last week. So we have been basically, we made the choice last Friday, so basically going on like 7 days now, to do what I would consider like shelter in place, which is we just stay at home. We got Hayden from daycare last Friday. His daycare closed, and the only time we've left is either if one of us has gone on a run by ourselves, or that we've gone to the grocery to get, just regular food. Like that's it. We haven't gone out. We haven't gone to do anything. We haven't gone out to eat. So we've been here and we've been doing that. And what I've kind of found is that, like, yes, this is obviously a stressful time, but I've also found some of my stress being alleviated in that you're taking into consideration other people. You're taking into consideration, like, all right, well, everyone else is like feeling this same stress. And I think that sometimes stress in life is amplified because we assume and feel everyone else is stressed about different things than we are, and so we have to unstress quickly or be more stressed to complement or take away from other people's stresses, which is just more stressful. Stress is one of those things that I think kills more people than we think. But with the endurance mindset that we have as athletes, like right now is like, if we talk about, like, if people talk about losing weight and getting more air, or right now is time to like clean out your insides mentally and emotionally and become a better thinker, a more intelligent athlete, to focus better, because in de-stress. Because if you can manage these times, because managing stress is how you get better. Endurance athletes, that's a huge part of their training, is how am I going to manage my stress today? How am I going to apply this training session to induce a physiological response that's going to make me a fitter or faster person, aerobically, anaerobically, both, whatever it is. Managing that stress is the key to it, and managing that load. And right now, we all have a very unique opportunity to experience and try to see how we can handle different loads, and that is about life. Because the athletes who handle life load the best, in terms of life stressors, in terms of life obstacles, in terms of being more flexible, they are also the most successful athletes. And I'm not just talking about the fastest times. I'm talking about the ones who meet their potential and are consistent. That's what we have to focus on right now, is doing the best that we can do in that fast and having that kind of endurance mindset for the long haul, and not just what about today, what about right now. And if you're going to think that way, think about what's the best I can do today. What are the positives I can find today? What are, you've always had this great analogy. I think this quote that you heard way back when, and we've talked about it a few times, was, the Ironman or 70.3s is like, you're going to feel one way 1 second and the total opposite the next. And I think this is like a roller coaster of feeling and emotions for so many people, and that's what they're feeling. They are feeling in one moment like, this is all good, like I'm loving it. This is home life, hashtag, live and work at home. And then 20 seconds later, it's like, this is terrible. I don't know
Yeah.
how I'm going to manage. Like, and I just think it's a really interesting similarity that both of these current experiences have.
Yeah, and the other part of that quote was, you're going to feel up 1 minute and you're going to feel down 1 minute, and then the rest of the part quote was, and don't trust either feeling because it's going to
Right?
change.
Yeah.
And to me, that's sort of what it is too. This is a perfect time, and I mentioned a couple podcasts ago, to sort of fix what you've been neglecting.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's like taking weight off our shoulders. And because we've got so much going on to try and train and keep up with, long sessions, all these things that are coming down the road at some point when we get ready for races and whatnot. But like, the last thing you want to be doing is out on a long ride going, man, I can't believe I didn't fix that drywall hole, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. Those are the kind of things that sort of just kind of weigh in our minds. And I think that whether it be a house project or something in the yard or something that just kind of gives you a little more freedom, or a relationship, patching up something, that you're going to be kind of close with loved ones, and it's a great time to talk and be open and honest, and like, get the I don't know, that apprehension out of air it out of the room. It's like, hey, we're humans. We don't know what's coming down the road. We have no control over what's happening right now. And it's a really good time to be sort of, I guess, forgiving or compassionate, and kindness and connection and calm versus anxiety and fear. This is the time when we can open up with people and really sort of be that human, and almost a little vulnerable, or really vulnerable in a way, because that's the power of relationships, in my opinion, is to have that vulnerability and that trust that you can say things, and not be super judged, or whatever the case may be. And this, to me, is the time that we can sort of work on those kind of things and fix that, the neglect that we might be carrying around as a extra dumbbell.
It's a time to capitalize on, not, because we're all worried about like the physical fitness that we're going to lose during this period if we are, or the limitations that we have. But right now is the time to maximize the emotional and mental fitness that you've gained from triathlon. Now
Yeah,
is
that's
that
that
time.
race free. That's
It
that
is.
race
It is
free
that
thing you
race.
talk about.
It is. It's like we capitalize on that. Like, you had days where you didn't want to do anything and you did it anyway. You've been on long bike rides, sometimes on the train. Like, I know athletes that have spent like 3 to 6 hours on the trainer. Dude, if you can do that, you can pretty much do anything. If you can like focus and do things, like, there are just so many attributes that, I don't like the term grinding away, but I don't know what a better phrase to, or a better word to describe it as. But there's this feeling that I think, and an emotion, and in a mental capacity that athletes have to just absorb and withstand. And I think right now that attribute, like, you hop in the water and you're racing, you have a kick in the face to start to swim, and then the next thing you know, you're still going. And in that moment, it feels so terrible, like, oh, my race is ruined. And then 30 miles into the bike, you can't even like remember that it happened. And you just know what it feels like to just grind and weather the storm. And we've all had races like that are been like, for some of you, like your most successful races, not because the time wasn't what it was, not because you placed or because you PR'd, but you were able to navigate a really difficult day. And I know for me, like specifically, like that was like one of my biggest, or probably my favorite race ever, was Ironman Louisville that you and I did last year. It was the original Louisville 1.0 in August, and it was like a record-breaking heat day. I'll never forget like the picture you have in like one of your old blogs of your mom who was carrying around like one of those like thermometers on her backpack, and it was reading like 110. But it was just one of those days where it wasn't about fit. I mean, it was about fitness, but fitness came in like second and third, or if not even like third and fourth on what was going to lead you to be successful that day. The same that you would have said for, Louisville this last year when they canceled the swim, or the year before when it was super cold. Like fitness was important, but I saw so many fit athletes that were just calling it a day and quitting. So you look at execution, you look at preparation, you look at mindset, and you look at the ability to withstand and the ability to be resilient and get through things. And triathletes have that. And if you didn't have it when you got into the sport, you probably have it now to just, withstand and absorb what's going on and continue to move forward. Not just continue to move forward to show off how brave and how tough you are, but to show that you can keep going and that you can continue on, and then you can make good decisions and you can be effective and you can execute your plan no matter what. And that's what we are dealing with right now, is an opportunity to execute our plans on a day-to-day basis no matter what, not by being irresponsible, but by being resourceful and choosing to look at the long-term picture and not a short-term picture, and being smart, and looking for what I consider be a part of the um, be a part of the solution, not a problem, and not part of the problem. And that's, I think, a unique situation we're all in right now, is that we can all do our part to be a part of the solution and not part of the problem. And the athletes that I know that I don't coach that are really, really, really successful, they're like, yeah, this is just going to extend my training phase. That's it. I'm going to continue my thing, but I'm also going to be responsible with what I do. I'm not going to go out and make bad decisions. I'm going to adhere to the things that I feel like are going to be of long-term success, even though in the short term, like, as the people that, in my opinion, people you see that are just totally scoffing and not abiding by some of the guidelines you've been given, are like, hey, it's for them, it's about short-term this and short-term that, and what can I do for me, and what can I do for me right now, versus how can I be successful in the long term? How can I set up others successful in the long term and be a part of what is considered to be like a hopefully a bigger, more healthy and successful picture than just being irresponsible today. And athletes have that experience, or they've had that experience with training. I wake up and I'm not feeling good, but I'm going to train anyway because I got to train. I can't miss it. And if that athlete continues to do that, they're going to be overtrained, they're going to get sick, or they're going to overtrain, they're going to get hurt, and they're not going to be able to race as well. Those same type athletes are probably, that same mentality and that same maybe personality trait or approach is also the same one that's getting people into trouble right now, in terms of only thinking like, I have to do, I have to do, I have to do, and not, you know what? I'm in this for the long haul. Right now might be right now, but I'm in this for the long haul. So no matter what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the best I can today and make the best decisions I can. The best, not just for like to fulfill my ego, but to fulfill my current and future health. And then also cultivate whatever I can with other people, with the community, with my training, promote a more mental and emotional like health balance with myself that's going to be positive and not negative, or one that's going to drive anxiety, or one that's going to push things forward. Because listen, like, everything right now is like, people with extra free time, it's like, how much more can I be in my phone? What's the newest news article I can see? What's the next doomsday thing I can read? What's the next, it's all about like, more distraction and more anxiety. It's not about like freeing yourself, because if you're sitting in your house, what's that going to do any good? It's like you can find things to be successful. You can find ways to be happy. I think it's a unique opportunity for us all, and I do. I think triathletes and endurance athletes are uniquely equipped mentally and emotionally to navigate this much differently than people who haven't gone through. We all obviously haven't gone through this, but we've gone through periods and hours and hours and hours, and we know what it's like to sacrifice. We know what it's time to do time management. We know what it's time to do things we don't want to do. We know what time, when it's when we know what it's like to make hard decisions about skipping a workout, or moving forward. Like, we know that because we've been training for this 10, 12, some people 16, 20 hours a week. Well, now we can still apply that. We can apply it for the good. We can apply it to continue on in a way that's hopefully going to benefit everyone.
Yeah, man, it's amazing that you brought up that Louisville race, because that's one of those days where I remember right when I got on the run, the question of the day was, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to do this?
Mm.
I really had no idea. Like it was such a sweltering furnace that I felt like I was going to start on fire. It was kind of like a legitimate fear I had at that moment. And the way I got through it was one step at a time, you know. And that's just all it can be, you know. I went highs and there was ups and downs and but mostly downs, and I just kept, you know, going forward. And you know, like I think about what's going on here, and one of my biggest fears, or maybe not fears, but like concerns is, and I think it relates to what you're saying about the phone and getting you know, like continually looking for information and updates and whatnot. And one of the biggest concerns I have is this concept of psychosomatic illness, or talking ourselves into something, or you know what I mean, because it's like when you have that fear running through, I just feel it when I, a couple of times, you know, my mom's here helping me with some of the things in the house, and she's amazing, by the way. And a couple of times we've been sitting down to watch TV, and we turn on the news, and it just feels like this scary thing to me, man. And it's sort of like, I know how my head can be, and sometimes I get in this like, oh, don't get sick, trying to, you know, whatever it is. And I know that, you know, I'm maybe unique in that respect, but I just believe we can kind of talk ourselves into being sick sometimes, or like, you know, that stress level just sort of brings down our immunity or whatever a case may be. And I try to look at these things. One of the things I always try to do is like step back and go, how's history going to look at this? You know, what's this going to look like, you know, next year or 5 years from now? Is it going to seem like a scary thing, or is it going to seem like, wow, like like we overreacted or underreacted? And I just think that I I mean, what everything you're saying is right. It's like we have this chance to create less distraction, and it's such a really interesting opportunity. We can't control what's in front of us, but we can control what we're doing about it. And I think that's all we have, you know. And trying to get through races like Louisville, or trying to get through something like this, is just basically one day at a time. You know that one well, and one step at a time, and not trying to prematurely optimize our future. I didn't go too deep into that. Did I lose you, man?
No, I'm back. Sorry,
He
man. I
just
had a
hung up. He's like,
yeah. No, I
no,
was like, you know what?
dude, you talking about this, man.
I thought you were
Getting all in
like
your crazy theories.
I thought you were doing like the original drop the mic. We were gonna call it a day, but no. Like, listen, if you if you need like a guy that can tell you how to navigate and get through 90 days of no cell phone, no TV, and limited contact with like the outside world, I'm your guy. 'Cause I did it. I did it when I got sober like over 6 years ago. I was in treatment for 90 days. We had no cell phone, no laptops, no internet. We were allowed to watch like an hour of TV on the weekends, and like limited to like zero contact with the outside world. And I wasn't stuck inside with my family, with like, you know, like your dog and your comfort. I was like sharing a room with a stranger in a house of like 13 other guys. So like I've been there, but I can also tell you, it's like, this is something I'm gonna go into in more depth and detail on our athlete live video thing next week, is that there's so much good you can find. And I think like one of the things I was thinking about earlier today too is like, I always talk to athletes that are training for Ironman. Like when we talk about this time of year, I say, all right, we don't want to use up any spousal units. We don't want you, we don't want to be going out on 6 hour rides in February, right? Because you want to save those for like a very short window because you want to keep the peace. Right now, I was talking to last night. I said we're all talking about negative impacts. I see so many other positive impacts that are going to happen because of something like this. I mean, that they've already been, I've already read a bunch of articles about like the fact that like water quality and air pollution is changed on like a massive level, and how that's going to help us. And then I've got to think, or at least maybe this is just wishful thinking, that people who smoke, like that the amount of people who are smoking or vaping, that's going to go down. I've seen more people out walking in my neighborhood than I ever have in my entire life. Out walking with their kids, walking with their significant other. Dogs are getting walked at a record pace right now. Everyone is out like walking their dogs multiple times a day. Neglected dogs are getting love they haven't had in a long time. Use this time to spend with your family. Like be flexible with these things. Like the fact of the matter is for a lot of us, like we don't have a set schedule anymore. Your schedule is basically gone. Like weekends, they don't what there is no such thing anymore because we're all at home for a lot of us we're at home, and so it's just kind of another day. And so we have these opportunities to like do things with your family, do things with your loved one, do things with your kids that you normally wouldn't have the opportunity to do. You don't have to get up and like I've seen a change in my own like stress level that's been for the good is like I would wake up and then I would think, all right, we gotta hurry, and I'm super guilty of this, is like we gotta hurry, we gotta get Hayden to daycare so I can get back home and I gotta get to work. And that would make some of our mornings like a lot more stressful. And now it's just like, well, we're just kind of gonna figure it out and get it done while we can. But that should be how it is all the time. Instead of like restraining ourselves to this like self-induced stress that makes things not good and not positive. Now we have these opportunities to kind of, it's definitely not do what you want, but we have so much more. I think we just have so much more freedom right now than we think we do, or that we may not fully appreciate at this moment until we get back to our regular schedule, 9 to 5 day-to-day lives where we no longer have those choices. We can no longer watch a movie with our kids at 10 o'clock in the morning and just not care about anything and do stuff later when they go to bed because we're on this tight 40-hour a week grind, work for the man regular schedule where we're just basically working and we're on this planet that we're not living. We need to be living right now and doing those things and taking time and like, you know what? I just think it's been refreshing, at least for us, and I hope for so many other people, is like, what's really important? Like the time that you have and the time that you spend. And endurance athletes, we can be some of the most selfish people. But we can also be some of the most selfless. And right now is that time. Right now is that time to be as selfless as you possibly can be, to help other people, to be encouraging, to be positive, to stick to your own plan and do things that are smart, to involve your family in it. Like yesterday, I went out and I did my run in the morning. I walked Kona, and I was looking for just ways to get, not to do more, but to have fun and incorporate Hayden in doing things. So we did like this like mailbox run where we went outside. It was not raining, which was like a surprise here in Chattanooga. It's rained here for like every day for the last month. And I was like, all right, we're gonna do mailbox races. And so we basically live on just one street. There's a cul-de-sac on both ends. And so we both stood at a mailbox and I was like, all right, I'm gonna run to the mailbox and then it's gonna be your turn. And so he was like, all right, ready, set, go. And I sprinted to the mailbox and I got there, I turned around and I said, all right, your turn. Ready, set, go. And he sprinted to the mailbox and we were doing this thing and like it wasn't about fitness, it wasn't about training, it wasn't about, getting better at anything. Well, that's not true. That's a lie. It wasn't about getting better at fitness. It was about doing something better as a family and as a father and with my son. And I think if we like look really hard right now, we can capitalize on those opportunities. And you know what? You might not think that has anything to do with triathlon, that has anything to do with the endurance mindset, but it does because you won't feel that guilt when this is all over and you can go out on your 6 hour bike ride with your buddies on a Saturday, or you can leave to train early in the morning. You're not going to feel that same guilt and that same internal tug of war you might have with leaving your spouse or leaving your kids or leaving whatever it is and doing something else. You're going to think, well, you know what, when I had the time and I had the opportunity, I maximized it. And right now is that time. And that goes back to something I was alluding to in the earlier part of the podcast, was like, do the things now that you're not thinking about that are going to produce a better you down the road. And that is doing things like that with your family, get out and being active, taking care of yourself. Like, self-care right now is like, has never been more important. And I think the more we can do these things now, you're not going to feel that in the future, which is going to allow you to perform better in the future. And I just think there's so many things we can do as athletes and as people with that endurance mindset that we can cultivate it and grow it and get better at it right now, that is not gonna show up on race day in, June, July, August, whenever it is, but it's gonna show up in the next week, in the next month. And then that same person who last year would struggle to find boundaries with their family and with training and make good decisions and just choose to be healthy and wouldn't skip workouts, like that athlete now has an opportunity, basically has been given a free second chance. All right, I'm having basically a forced shutdown. I now have the opportunity to rewire the way that I think, to rewire the way that I approach things, and to make, not just to make things right, but to get things right. And I want to get them right, not for just right now, but I want to get them right in September. If I can't, and let's be honest, if you can't be that guy or you can't be that girl right now, you're not going to be that same one. You're not going to be that guy or that girl in September or June or July. Now is that time to create that and do that. And I mean, I'll tell you again, like I was joking earlier when I said if you need tips on on how to like kind of self isolate, like I used to be the king of it, like even before I got sober. And I'm an introvert, I think, at heart. I can be an extrovert, but I know what it's like to isolate. I know what it's like to not take care of yourself. But I also know what it's like to use that same opportunity of not being surrounded by people and distractions to absolutely and totally rework and change your entire life. And this isn't the same opportunity you're being given. Obviously, you're not you're not like in a therapeutic like treatment environment, but we had a ton of free time then. We had a ton of free time. And it was just yeah, I'm just telling you from experience, like again, I know it's not the same thing and it's not, and it's been forced, and you've got kids and you've got a job you have to do. Like I didn't have any of those in treatment. It was just me. Like I didn't talk to Allie. I didn't talk to my family. I was a distance. Like, but we all still have opportunities in this madness that is uncertainty and daily obstacles. Like there's always opportunities. And if you can capitalize on them now, the other thing that's going to show up down the road is your ability to troubleshoot in races. If you're an athlete who only has to have everything look perfect, right? I can't move my training, or it has to be done today, or the race has to go perfectly, and the conditions have to be perfect, has to be flat, no wind, mid 60s, high 40s at the start, has to be perfect. It's got to be wetsuit legal. That's got to be wetsuit legal. It's got to be a down current swim. It can't have hills and run because I don't really do it. It's got to be flat on the bike. I kind of like it rolling, but it can't have any wind. And the asphalt, oh, it's got to be perfect. Like I can't believe people who ride on these bumpy roads. If you're that athlete, guess what? Right now is a great time to become a more resilient, well-rounded athlete with multiple tools that can troubleshoot anything. That's also a tool that most endurance athletes have, but some who fail to reach their full potential don't have because they are what I think I've said this on a previous podcast. We all know perfect Pat. We all have
Hmm.
a friend who's perfect Pat who will complain about every scenario that is not perfectly ideal. And that is why the race didn't go the way that it went. And then you have other athletes who, no matter what, look at the opportunity that the day gives them, that the day presents them to be successful and to succeed. And those athletes are the ones that succeed. They're not the ones that look for excuses. Oh, well, I think my tires were a little bit low. Like I usually do like 90 psi, but I think I pumped up the night before and I put my thumb on it and I squeezed it. I swear, man, it was 88. And that I had to lose at least a couple watts right there. And then I got stuck behind this person who wasn't going fast enough. And then it was like the volunteer, and I dropped my bottle. We all know those people. And those people who look for excuses, they're not looking for success. They're not using success and how I can get there as a driver. The businesses, the people, the companies, the relationship who are looking for a way to fail, who are looking for a way to get bought out, who are wrong. Guess what? You look hard enough, you're gonna find it. You will find it. You will be that self-fulfilling prophecy as your business will die, your relationship will go by the wayside. Anything that you want will become because you're just gonna think your way to it. If you're on the other end and you think, how can I be the most successful right now at everything I'm doing with my business, with my work, as a friend, as a spouse, as a neighbor down the street, as a father, as a wife, as a mom, if you are looking for ways to be successful right now, guess what? You're going to be successful because those people look for wins in every opportunity. They don't bemoan and agonize over annoying things that might seem like losses to the normal person. You look for wins. So right now, go out. Well, maybe not go out, but get up, do your best, and just look for wins. And if you can just do that, I think that you'll start to, again, like consistency is string. It's not about one workout. It's about stringing days into weeks, into months, into years. Like that was one of my favorite quotes from that article we referenced, I think maybe early last week, from Dan Lorang, the coach of Jan Frodeno. Was he's taught me more how to string together, good training blocks that turn into weeks, that turn into months, that turn into, turn into good months, that turn into great years. And if you're a person who looks for wins, that's how it's gonna play out. You're gonna have that constant success if you do it day to day. And this is gonna become a habit. You're gonna be glass half full and not Mr. Glass half empty. And we all know those people. And who do you want to go have coffee with? Usually it's a person who's just like that. If you're a person who always looks for excuses, you're gonna want to go have coffee and have person. I used to do it. That's all we used to do, right? Before I got sober, a bunch of us go meet up at 3 Crow. We would just we would have the same conversations over and over again because you surround yourself with people who are thinking and complaining or in that same mindset that you are. On the flip side, if all you want to do is talk to winners and be winning and think about how we can do things successfully and be positive, guess what? You're going to find yourself talking to those people too. And right now, everyone needs that kind of a group. Positive, supportive, half glass full. What can we do today to get better? We still have opportunities. Let's do this. And that
Yeah.
can and that concludes my longest rant up to this day in the last 3 years. Sorry
Dude, I
about
was
that,
gonna
dude.
say you said something about 30 minutes ago in that rant that I wrote down. Um,
Sorry, man.
yeah, and but you said do what's really important now. And in a lot of, I know I seem maybe even, well, I'm just sort of that way, I think, casual about in nature and try to be relaxed and not get over wound up about things. But I was thinking about this, and I think I've almost going through what I went through with my dad almost in a way prepared me for what's going on right now because he sat in
Mm,
hospice for like 6 weeks. I was there for about half the time, and we were just, kind of to wrap this around what I said at the beginning. I mean, we were just in that moment. I mean, it was the starkest, plainest view of the moment that I've had in a long time, and I sat there a lot, and we just kind of accepted what was and what is, and that's sort of, in a way, I mean that happened at the end of the year. He passed, and I have been a little bit changed since then, and it's a good thing. I think it was a gift he gave me in a lot of ways. That process did, and that's when you find out what is important. I mean, because at that moment or during that time, dude, it was just like everything's important, like that you want to go through and everything like that, but just to weigh, kind of balance things out and weigh them in realistic terms, maybe, because I do look at this and the analogy, I guess, is this moment is that gift too, to figure out what's important, to step back from things that are just hamster on a treadmill. What are those things called? Wheel, hamster on a wheel.
hamster,
But
yeah.
like, yeah, to step off for a minute and kind of look and say, wait a minute, I've been, you know, we all know this too, right? I think subconsciously we know when things are spinning out of control a little bit, and now is a really good opportunity to step back. And like I said, I've been pretty casual about everything because one, I feel like I let go and I can't control a lot of things, and I'm just doing what I do. But I like to stay positive and as much as I can because that I've been a negative person, and it's like you said, it's easy to go to the bar and sit there and drink with your buddies and go down that negative hole. It's so familiar. It's sort of like I heard this thing the other day. It was really interesting. It's sort of like the three elements of survival. And like one is trigger, the next one is behavior, and then the next one's reward.
Hmm.
And when we get in these cycles, it's all about kind of figuring out what's the behavior after the trigger and to get different types of rewards. So like in a situation where there's like an anxious element in the world or in your life, fear is the trigger, worry becomes the behavior, and anxiety is the reward. And we couch that reward as in something that we're busy, we're doing something. That's like the how we
Mm.
justify it. I thought that was really interesting because if you can sort of change the behavior after the fear trigger, like fear, how you always hear like fear can be good,
Hmm.
and how do you handle it, and then like how do you respond to that fear trigger, and that changes the outcome because it was really interesting to me to hear that like doing anxiety is a reward. Like I think if to talk ourselves into that is really like a wild way to think about it, but that's how the vicious cycle hurt, because anxiety triggers fear again, and then it just goes back through, so that's a big part of, I think why it's great that we're doing this with the community stuff and the talks. And I think these podcasts, you and I talk about all the time, how they help us talk through things and to keep a positive perspective, man. And just, hearing, that's why I don't want to go down any, there's enough, you can find the negative if you want. And I just want to stay positive because I believe in everything that's going on. I mean, I believe in what we're doing. I believe in the people that we have been so fortunate enough to meet and connect with over the years. And then let's just enhance that through the community, which of course brings us back to the initial announcement of the online hub. And what we're trying to do in there is to create that kind of space where you can, find that connection and be positive and just sort of stay on course and whatever. So just check that out at c26triathlon.com, and there's links all over the place. It's called Online Hub Preview under the Hub tab or one of the tabs. You'll be able to find it. We'll post it in Facebook too.
Yep.
In our closed group, which is Search Crushing Iron Group.
Look at you with the clothes today. We feel good. I usually nail the clothes, and you're
yeah, like, you do. Yeah. Well, you can reiterate it.
No, it is. It's if you go to the website C26 Triathlon and you just move your cursor over where it says Online Hub, you'll get a drop down that says Online Hub Preview, and that's what you click on. But as always, we appreciate all of our listeners, whether you're new, whether you've listened to all of our podcasts, whether you've just listened to a few. We love you guys. We're happy to connect. This helps Mike and I both. When we get on 2 hours a week and talk, it's helpful for us, and we love hearing from you guys. We hope you guys are hanging in tough. We'll dive probably a little bit deeper on the next podcast next week on more kind of triathlon training specific things that we can do during this period to maintain our success and head in the right direction. In the meantime, though, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or especially anything about getting into the hub or accessing that, reach out to Mike, crushingiron@gmail.com. If you have any questions for me specifically, you can always hit me up at c26coach@gmail.com.
All right, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey, appreciate you, man. I'll talk to you on Monday.
All right, buddy.
Sounds good.